We are facing the most significant crisis of our lifetimes because of President Trump's unjustified tariffs and his threats to our sovereignty. I and we will reject any attempt to weaken Canada. Any attempt.
So that was Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney at a political rally in Ontario Friday. He's trying to run for re-election. Well, he actually never got elected. He got appointed to that position. But he started with the trade war with the U.S., and he said that Canada will win. Now this after President Trump previously announced 25% tariffs on auto imports, and that took effect on Thursday. So joining me now to break all this down is the host of the Charbonne Report, Michael Charbonne. Also with us is the president of Strelmark LLC Business Development Consultants, Hilary Fordwich. Great to have both of you on. Hilary, I want to get your take on this because there's a lot of concern right now with the stock market, but President Trump is saying, listen, it's going to settle down. I know you watch the markets closely. What's your takeaway from what's happening right now and what could possibly happen tomorrow when opening bell at 9:30?
Well, John, actually, you're totally right. One of the things President Trump has said is this is like a patient that's gone through an operation and came out healthy. And I think one of the best analogies I've heard to complement that is, yes, it's like you've gone through surgery without anesthesia. This is painful, but it's like when someone has to go on a diet. You have to detox your body. I don't think that this is pleasant right now, but I also think there are a lot of forces working against President Trump and a lot in the market. There are many with jitters. There are many that don't believe in his policies and don't believe in this. But what I would say is, number one, do not bet against America and American spirit. That's number one. Americans are hardy. Americans have been through far worse. But number two, very importantly, and this Sean Fain of the UAW has confirmed this, and President Trump, of course, has said this, which is 90,000 American manufacturers have moved abroad since NAFTA. American manufacturing has been hollowed out. We need reshoring. We need American companies coming back here. And I think an external revenue service going back to what we had in 1870, which was tariffs were imposed so that we would protect the American consumer and Americans. We didn't even have income taxes then. This has been done before. And just like then, when we had a blue ribbon commission, John, in terms of to spend all the money we had, we were so wealthy then, I do believe we can go back. The only problem is we don't have long until the midterms. How quickly can this be done? How quickly can the reshoring take place? I think already you're seeing American manufacturers come back. And last but not least, don't forget, a lot of American companies went abroad because our corporate tax rate was 20%, and like in Ireland, it was 12%. Yeah. American companies went abroad, our manufacturing went abroad, and all President Trump is trying to do is to reshore all of that investment, manufacturing, and that will, again, help our economy.
Hilary, do you anticipate that a lot of countries are going to try to negotiate this? And maybe to Michael's point there, could Canada maybe get that eliminated and have one economic driver of North America? But do you think you're already seeing some of these world leaders already picking up the phone call? And what do you take on sort of the negotiation tactic here?
Well, I think that Michael was absolutely right. And what I do think you're going to see, I think you're going to see the world leaders are going to capitulate. Why? Because they need us more than we need them. That's one of the things that's so great about America. And I will say, for example, Israel is a very good example that their finance minister, they just capitulated also. So they have a $34 billion bilateral trade with us. Of course, countries cannot say, oh, well, we'll just forget America. That isn't going to work. And if you look across the globe, one of the words that is not being used, John, and this is really bothering me because I look at a lot of international media, have international clients, I'm around the globe. The word reciprocal, if they don't think it's fair, for example, you just saw Mark Carney there. If you don't think it's fair, then why do you impose 250% tariffs on some of our dairy goods? If 250% isn't fair, then why do you have it on the U.S.? The U.S., America has been the world's piggy bank for too long. Do you know when the last time was we had a trade surplus with the world? It was 1975. We need to go back to when we were not the world's piggy bank.
Michael, isn't Canada's tariff on the goods, there's a threshold though, right? Doesn't it, that has to reach a certain threshold before the tariff actually kicks in. Is that true?
Yeah, it is. I mean, everybody's talking about milk and dairy. I mean, there's also lumber, there's also steel, there's also aluminum, there's also a car part that comes from America, manufactured in Canada, painted in America, installed in cars that are sold to both. It's a cacophony of problems. Okay, you have to make a deal. That's what it's all about. So, I mean, if dairy is going to be a problem, I think dairy was a problem earlier when we looked at our fledgling farmers who were trying to protect our market and American goods came in that were cheaper, quicker, faster, and more available, and brands that we recognize from watching advertisements. But this is a different scenario here. I mean, if you consider overall 30% of European cars, BMW, Volvo, Mercedes, Volkswagen, they're sold to America. 24% of German cars sold to America. 30% of Italian cars sold to America. I mean, that's a situation where you can see a valid position. I think Canada has to understand we are stronger together. If there has to be some type of a deal made with regards to dairy, let's throw that out. There's way more bigger fish in the barrel here, and there's greater potential for both our economies. But we're also in an election, John, so everybody's throwing stuff out. We had the NDP guy talk about victory bonds. Let's get victory bonds. I mean, that's not a bad idea, I guess, but it's not what to get elected with, John.
Right. And you brought up cars, and actually, the British car maker Jaguar Land Rover is pausing its U.S. shipments now over these tariffs. We'll wait to see what happens in the Canadian auto sector as well. Michael Chabon, Hillary Fordwich, thank you so much. I have to leave it there. Always a pleasure having you back on.
Thanks, John. Bye, Mike.